Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is the Piracy Show. Now, first off, before I get started, there was a comment in last week's video by Big Dave 76, I believe it was. Sorry if I made a mistake, but I believe, according to my notes, that's who it was. I was testing the Revenant, the size 4 Revenant Gatling guns on the turrets. And I was like, oh shit, they just run out of ammo so fast. And he was saying, no, what's happening is they're actually overheating. They don't really have that much ammo, but they're overheating because you're not in the command module. So I went back to test it because I just hadn't thought of that. And I thought, oh shit, he might be right. So I went and here I am. I'm with an org member. He's sitting in my front turret and we're testing that. And you're going to see, actually, he was right. And it was the guns were overheating because no one was in the command module. I hadn't thought of that. And we actually do get a couple of kills here with the front turrets. It's still apparently a very cumbersome interface to use. The bottom turret is still broken, but it does work. So that actually works. There is there's more. They fire for longer if there's someone in the command module, but still they run out of ammo pretty quick. So I'm going to have to figure out some different guns to put on those turrets for next time. Now, on to the show. Now, recently, Ben Lesnick has, he's actually said it a couple of times now that there's up to 7 or 8 concept ships to come. Now, of course, a statement like that is going to generate a lot of controversy. And, of course, people have already started saying, why don't you try finishing the ships that you've already promised instead of, bringing out new concept ships. And I think a lot of it has to do with kind of CIG constantly pulling in money. And, we go through these long protracted periods. Certainly, 2.5 to 2.6 was an example. I mean, where, people are waiting a long time for things. And it seems like there's a lot of things that aren't getting done. So it certainly, I think, makes the community anxious when CIG is constantly pulling in money, but they're not seeing a lot of forward motion. And that's, I think, where a lot of those comments come from. And I feel that that's always been one of CIG's biggest problems. I've talked about it before, but it's their lack of understanding of the community perspective. And there certainly are some backers who are guilty of that as well, who just kind of dismiss other people's concerns out of hand and say, I'm okay with the concept sales, but at the same time, you have to acknowledge the fact that there's a lot of people who are somewhat nervous or at least anxious when CIG is constantly pulling in money. But, forward motion seems to be very, very, very slow. And so there's a lot of people out there who are saying, no, don't give CIG any more money. Make sure that they understand that now they have a finite amount and you have to get things done. And I think a lot of that is technically produced by this, by the lack of information that people get from CIG. And CIG gets very comfortable with things the way they are because they get to see all the concept art. They get to see everything as a work in progress. They're immersed in this stuff every day, whereas the rest of the community is only fed little tidbits. And certainly a lot of the community broadcasts lately have been more focused towards hashtags, hype, and handbags, and less towards, actual meat on your plate discussions about some of the technical elements in Star Citizen and showing us some of the progress. Like, we get to see little snippets, but we don't really get to experience it. So it's very difficult for the community to kind of have I don't want to say confidence, but it's very difficult to kind of make that leap when you don't have all that information. And for CIG, it's very comfortable because they have all that information. They get to see it and they're like, oh my God, you guys don't even know how great this is going to be. And it's just, we need more of that information. We need less hashtag and hype and, handbags. We need, more technical stuff. Now, I'm going to put a link in the description below. It's an article written by a backer named Bornflying. And it revolves around the Star Citizen's flight model. And it is, it's very long. but it is not a dry read. It is a very well-informed read, and I think that a lot of people, if you read that, you're going to say, these are things that I thought, but I just didn't know how to articulate, and this guy articulated it. I believe he's a commercial pilot in real life and also a flight instructor. It's so well written and so well illustrated. There's video examples all through it. I cannot recommend enough that you read this. That's the level of technical discussion that I think that this community is capable of. And having so much video content, kind of almost seeming like it's built around servicing, say, like an Overwatch, much younger community. I think that's a complete misstep, and that's a complete mismatch with this community. And I think that that's where a lot of this kind of nervousness and anxiousness comes from. I'm okay with the idea of new concept ships. Well, actually, with a modified thing, but I'll get into that in a second. But I feel that, that the level of broadcast doesn't represent the level of community. And certainly in the dispensing of information. And so that's, that's something I think that CIG could definitely do better. And I think people would be a lot more comfortable with the idea of all these new concept ships if CIG was doing a better job, informing and keeping in touch with the community and respecting the community's position, because that they don't have all this information that they have, all this stuff that they get to see that we don't. Now, as far as the concept ships go, like, let's say if I were the director of ships, if I was in charge of these concept ships, what would I do? What would I do differently? Well, the first thing is like all these other new concept ships. That's fine. Put that all aside right now, because there's two things that I would do. I would take two existing ships, two existing assets. I would have them modified slightly, and then I would have them left in the game client and just let people find them and play with them. Like, you don't have to spend any alpha UEC or any rec on them. You don't have to, do Pirate Swarm or anything to unlock them. You don't own these ships, but they're in your hangar and you can fly around and you can play with them. You can modify them, test them out. Tell me what you think. And the first ship that I would do is I would take the Gladius. I would strip all the guns off of it and then replace them all in a little triangular configuration, all almost centerline mounted right underneath the nose, fixed. And I would just put that in. I would just call it Gladius Test Bed, and I would just leave that in the client. Say, take it out, fly it. Tell me what you think. Not selling it to you. I'm just giving this to you. Just try it out. Tell me what you think. If you fly with a mouse or if you fly with a HOTAS. Or you fly with a gamepad. Just try that. Try that ship out for a week or a month. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think of that fighter. I would like to see the community's reaction to a fighter like that. Also, another thing that I would like to do, is I would take the Cutlass Black, the old Cutlass model that is soon to be extinct. I would take that ship. I would take the top turret off. I just put the flash fire mount in it. Not that you could mount any guns on it, but I would just stick that in there just to seal up the hole. And then I would change the pilot and co-pilot stations around so that the pilot was the one sitting higher up in the back, and the co-pilot station down the front would actually be the gunner station. And I would make it so that all the guns on the ship would be removed, and instead you would have a little quad turret right underneath the nose, so it could still turn, and get good coverage out in the front. It could still angle upwards, but I would hang that right underneath the nose, and I would put the gunner in charge of that gun. Like, if the pilot's flying alone, then it's more or less just like a fixed gun or something like that. But if you have a gunner, then it's a gimbal. It's that gimbaled mini turret, and he can fly around and coordinate with the pilot. I'm not selling it to you. I'm not forcing it on you. I'm just putting this out there. Go out, play with it. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think of this. No commitment required. It would require very little work on the part of a developer, I assume, to put these two things together. Just go out and try these ships out. Tell me what you think. Before I came out with new concept ships, I would put those two things out there, and I would say, tell me what you think. Because I think that as the community got their hands on those two ships and played around with them, I think we would have better discussions on ship design and game balance and things like that if those two ships were in the game. And I think that would go a long way to making sure that any next generation of ships would probably be better off for those two ships having existed. That's what I would do if I was director of ships. Anyways, now a while ago I was talking about, the second character that I had always planned to create and set aside and make a whole bunch of videos with, or possibly do them cinematically. I'm still trying to gel out on the idea of how that's all going to work, and kind of rolling ideas around in my mind. But I've always wanted to create kind of like a secondary character, and I've talked about this before, like a bit of a hacker, a spy, maybe an assassin, something like that, something that allows me to kind of go into areas where my pirate character wouldn't have access, in case I needed to reach out and touch someone, or just to do missions and create videos with. Just something, something that would be more within the broader sense, like a legitimate citizen, not so much, but that would make me uncomfortable, but, just enough so that I could have access to a much broader area within Star Citizen, and make some videos that, would be more applicable to the general populace than just, the pirating community. And, I think, I don't know, I was watching Ghost in the Shell, the original Ghost in the Shell again, this weekend, and I kind of think that I am gonna make that character kind of a version of the Major. I always thought that that character, Motoko Kusanagi, was a really awesome character. Now, I've never really been a really big fan of anime. It's never really been one of my things, but that has always been one movie that I've been able to go back and watch over and over and over again that I enjoy. And that's something that, I always say, I'm not really interested in that, but if you got Ghost in the Shell, I'll watch that. And I've always really, really liked that character. I always thought that it was a really cool character. And so I'm kind of thinking that I'm going to probably create a character that kind of embodies some of those qualities. Now, I'm not saying, hopefully, who knows, there might be thermo-optic camo in the game. I don't think so. Probably not. There'd probably be a lot of people who complain about that. But I think that would definitely... I think that would be a very compelling character to look at and to watch. And so I'm kind of feeling it's going to go that way. I don't know yet. I'm not firmly decided. But, yeah, I kind of feel that that's the direction I'm going to go. And, I mean, I've thought this for a while, but it just seemed like recently it just kind of it got cemented in. Now, of course, the character isn't going to be like a direct one-for-one copy or an attempt thereat. I'll try to make it something like this concept art here. This is from the body armor discussions in the forum. I found this art linked, and I kind of kept it, and I just said, oh, you know what, that's a really cool looking character. Maybe I should make a character that looks like that. I'm kind of thinking that that's the way that that character is going to end up. So I guess we got to wait until we see female character models in the game before we know how far we can take things. But I kind of have a feeling that this is going to be kind of the way that character is going to look. But anyways, I mean, that's all way down the road. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And I think we're still a ways away from, being really around any of that. I think that 3.0 really is going to be the big watershed moment, and once we get all that in and we start to see all the new content come in and then female character models, I'll revisit that idea and then kind of think about it then. But yeah, that's kind of the way I think I'm gonna go. But yeah, I'm more interested right now in the immediate time. I'm more interested in seeing 3.0. I'm really hoping that is going to we're going to see that hopefully soon. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I know people get mad when I say it, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see that until June, you know. And I'm not saying it to be like a dick or trying to say it to be mean, but it's like, I mean, to a certain point, I feel that I have to say something here, and it's in all the months leading up to December, I was increasingly less enthused or less convinced that we were going to see 3.0 before the end of the year. And I had certainly voiced that opinion more than once. And one of the common factors in the comments of the videos was that, oh, no, there's two concurrent teams. They're developing them at the same time. You don't know. It's 3.0 is coming before Christmas. You'll see. And then it didn't happen. And I'm not saying that, to be a dick, but it didn't happen. And now, the same thing I'm saying, I don't think 3.0 is going to be for a little while yet. And people are like, no, it's coming. It's happening. And someone told me that one of the developers in the happy hour video said 2.7, but the context was pretty mysterious, so it's not for sure that there is going to be a 2.7. They might have just misspoke and they meant to say 3.0 or whatever. I don't know, but I think we've still got, unfortunately, a ways to go yet for 3.0. And once again, I have a lot of content that I want to use in 3.0. I mean, obviously, Caterpillar, Dragonflies, tons of stuff. I would love for there to be more game. I mean, one of the reasons, you see me here, I'm playing with a member of my org who was, Foom, who was helping me test out the turrets and mess around with a whole bunch of other stuff, and we were just having fun. But in the end, that's all you can really do with Star Citizen right now is just mess around and have a little fun, but there's not that much here yet. There's not enough here, I think, really, to make a live stream out of or to make really serious video content out of, because there's not enough, There's not enough game yet. We're still too early for there to be enough game. These are just, basically, these are just basic foundations just being put together to test things out to see if they work. This isn't a finished game, and we're not close to that yet. So I don't think that there's enough here to really base a lot of concepts or videos on. And I think 3.0 is going to be the first major leap that kind of starts to put us in the right direction, and where we really start to gain traction. And so I'm very excited to see it, and I'm not trying to shit on it or put people down, but I think we're still a while out yet, guys, honestly. And I'm not saying, it's I think it's going to take them a while to get that one out here. So, don't get too crazy over it, because it is going to be a while. Just that way, accept it, and that way, if it comes out sooner and I'm wrong, then it's a happy surprise for everyone. But don't get too crazy wondering where 3.0 is, because I think it's still going to be a ways out yet. And so anyways, that's the video for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Quantum travel initiated.